Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America. Go Dat Way and Go Dere by Gary Loupassakis is a travel memoir that details the many journeys of a seasoned American travel agent as he embarked on a 50-year tour of the world, offering a deep appreciation for the beauty and complexity of our planet. Gary grew up in a small town in central New Jersey, holds a Bachelor of Arts in History from Keene University. He's a distinguished travel agent, passionate globetrotter, whose career has spanned over 5 decades, organizing and undertaking global tours and providing clients with insights into diverse cultures and destinations. And Gary Loupassakis, author of Go Dat Way and Go Dere, is our guest on today's program. Gary, a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for inviting me.
It is our pleasure. I love travel. I love people that have traveled as extensively as you have. What a 50-year career that you've had, all brought out in the book, Go Dat Way and Go Dere, and we'll give you information on the availability of that book as we go through the conversation. An interesting start in the travel business. Tell us about this. I love the backstory of how Gary got involved in the travel business.
Well, it actually started during World War II when my father was overseas. He was in North Africa, India, and China. And having been a young man that had never really gotten out of the tri-state area, out of New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania, all of a sudden now he's on the other side of the world. And he became fascinated with the possibility of traveling. And once he came home on Christmas Day, 1945, and I was born 11 months later. Didn't take him a whole lot of time. And he actually sent a telegram to my mother, and he said, told her when he was coming into the train station in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and he says, "Put the bed in the kitchen in case we get hungry." He had been overseas for almost 2 years. Anyway, after me, and I have an older brother and a younger sister, when we were old enough to travel, we would go someplace every summer. We'd, go to New England, we'd go down to Florida, we'd go to Virginia, Washington, and, Williamsburg. And it kind of evolved in that. And then in 1964, he bought a travel agency that had fallen on hard times. He gave the previous owner a job, and my brother was graduating from college that year, and he gave my brother a job. And that's basically how I got into it. And then I graduated from high school in 64, tried college for a couple years, and then went into the Army, and I got out in 67, and I became one of the employees in the travel agency.
And the rest
I've
is
been there
history.
pretty much ever since.
Well, yes, and all of the tours, and we'll talk about that during the course of the conversation today. Gary Loupassakis is our guest on the program. I will spell that for you so you can Google it. That's also his website, so I'll give you that information as we go through this. It's interesting you talk about the first plane ride that you went on. The family takes a vacation. It's 1960. Hard to believe that people got dressed up to fly on the airplane. You look around now, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. That guy rolled right out of bed into the car and came to the airport, didn't even bother to change. Talk about that, the experiences of that. And that really was a special time in an airplane, wasn't it? I mean, this was a big deal when you flew.
It was. I mean, today, a T-shirt is overdressed. But back in those days, it happened to be Easter week. And my mother always bought my brother and sister and I new clothes for Easter. And so we could go to church and whatnot. And we had brand new clothes. My brother and I had a jacket and a tie. My sister had a new dress. And my father had his jacket or suit on. And my mother had her Easter bonnet on. And we flew to Nassau. And from those days, you had to go all the way to Kennedy Airport. Of course, back then it was called Idlewild.
Yes.
But for us, that was an hour and a half drive. Newark Airport is 20 minutes. So, but it was a journey, and it was the first time we ever were on an airplane. And we flew down economy and came back first class, or maybe it was the other way around. I forget.
Well, you had a little
But,
taste of everything in there. That was in 1960. The travel bug had bitten Gary up to that point, and he mentioned starting off and the travel agency, been there for over 50 years. When you think about your career, I mean, what a dream job. I mean, you made people's dreams come true, didn't you?
I did. I really feel that. The book's got an odd title, but it's explained in the book how I came up with it. But if you think about it, I told people where to go, and I got paid for it. And so I would tell them, go that way and go there. And and I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I made their dreams come true, and I did. And I ended up sending them on their vacations, and then their children and their grandchildren on honeymoons and whatnot. And frankly, I'm still doing it.
It's interesting because it's not just travel with you, is it? There are the memories, there's the experiences, there's all of that that magical stuff that goes into traveling. Talk about that. Sometimes we rush through everything now and we don't pay attention to where we are and what we're doing. We're trying to get to the next stop. You really slow it down in your book, and you point out all of these great things, the beauty the world has. Are we better travelers now than we were back then?
I think so, yes. I mean, it's easier to travel now.
Yes.
With the advent of jet aircraft, and now we have these jumbo jets that hold 400 people. I mean, I think that first plane I went on to Nassau, maybe there were 40 people on it. But today, it's so much easier to travel. But there's so many things to see and do. The cultures are fascinating. I talk in my chapter about India, how I was just awestricken by the culture of India and the palaces and the way the people dressed and how colorful they were. Yes, India's poor, and yes, it's dirty, but it's a fascinating country to visit. There's so much to see and do. I spent 9 days there. I could have spent 90. And someday I'm going to go back. But that's just one. I mean, travel to Europe. Europe's got a civilization 1,000 years older than ours, and than America is. And it's so much diversity in each country, so many different things to see and do. And if I'm a historian, I have a degree in history, and history fascinates me. People laugh at me because I don't read mystery books or dramas or things like that. I read historical things. It may be fiction, but I still enjoy historical books, and that's what you get when you travel around the world. America is one of the youngest countries in the world. I mean, we're only 500 years old, not quite.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We think that we're older than what we are, and the real history is over in the countries you're talking about. And when you can tell why, with this passion that Gary has for travel, why he's been so successful as a tour guide and a travel agency owner. The passion is there. If you want to go somewhere, chances are Gary's been there, and he can give you all the advice and what you need to do to accomplish that. It's interesting when you look at your career. 1995, you were designated the official travel agent for the U.S. Olympic bobsled team. Talk about that experience. And you had an experience because we didn't do all this electronic stuff at the time, and you had to hustle to get the tickets to these guys.
Well, yeah, I did. My stockbroker at the time was the chairman of their fundraising for the bobsled team, and he got me involved in doing the airline tickets for the team whenever they went from their headquarters was in Lake Placid, New York, and whenever they went overseas to do preliminary races and things like that prior to the Olympics or after the Olympics, I took care of all their flights. I made the arrangements for that. And this was before e-tickets. And so I had to actually hand them tickets. And we didn't have FedEx in those days either. So one time I didn't have enough time to mail the tickets to them. I had to fly up to Montreal, which was the nearest international airport to Lake Placid, to be there waiting for them when they got off the bus to hand them their tickets. I probably wasn't there more than 2 hours because I turned around and came home.
Yes.
And it was in the middle of January. And I got to tell you, Montreal is cold in January.
That's another chapter of the book, talking about how cold it is in Canada during the winter months. Our guest on the program is Gary Loupassakis. That's Loupassakis. His website is GaryLoupassakisBook.com. All of that's available on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You'll go directly to Gary's website. No spelling test. You'll go directly to his website. You can also get the book anywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of the usual places. So many great stories in the book. And I love the one, The Nun in Romania. Tell us that story.
This is quite an interesting story. We were in Romania. It's a long story as to how we ended up in Romania. You can read about it in the book. But we were traveling around in the central part of Romania. We were in Transylvania, maybe 50 or 60 kilometers from Moldavia. Anyway, the entire country of Romania was dirt. I mean, their parks were dirt. I mean, it was horrible. If you ever saw the movie Borat by Sacha Baron Cohen, it was filmed in some of these little villages in Romania. So anyway, we pull into this monastery, and it was like Dorothy landing in Oz. All of a sudden, color came out. There were flowers all over the place. All the buildings were beautifully painted and whatnot. And there was a little, in the monastery, there was a little museum. And we were in the museum, and the person we were with that we had gone to visit in Romania was describing what these different objects were in the museum. And all of a sudden, the Mother Superior comes up to her and she says, "I hear English being spoken. Do you have somebody here that speaks English?" And she says, "Yes, these two people are from America." Well, with that, her name was Mother Cassiana. Mother Cassiana reaches out her hand and she says, "Hi, I'm Mother Cassiana from America. Would you have any potato chips by any chance?" She had been there about 6 weeks and she was desperate for potato chips. And then, to make the story even better, she was from New Jersey.
Interesting. A neighbor.
She was born and raised in New Jersey.
Amazing.
And so when we got, and she had asked us to get in touch with her mother, who lived in the southern part of Jersey, down the shore, and which I did. As soon as I got home, I called her, and she was in tears because she hadn't heard from her daughter in a month or two, because the phones were so bad over there. And when she came back to the United States about 6 or 8 months later, she came to visit us at her house, and we all went out to dinner. And I asked her what she would like to have, and she says, "I'm dying for Chinese." So we went to Chinese. Oh, and when she sent me the thank you note for the potato chips we sent her these little personal size bags,
yes.
A whole bunch of them. Must have been 30 of them. She said she was eating one a week. She was, allowing herself to have one bag a week.
I'm going to ration those so they last for a while.
So that's Mother Cassiana. She was delightful.
It's a great story. That story and so many more in Gary's book, Go Dat Way and Go Dare. The book is available wherever books are sold. Gary's website is GaryLoupassakis.com. A link on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Another interesting chapter in there, how I started taking down the Berlin Wall. Ahead of your time there. Talk about that.
In 1989, we had gone to Russia and Scandinavia. And at the end of the tour, we went to Berlin for a couple of days. Now, this was in September, and the wall was still up. There was actually 2 walls with a no man's land in between. And there were guards with dogs and guns walking around the no man's land. Well, on the western side where we were staying, there was a platform right behind the Reichstag where you could walk up and see over the wall. So I got up there, and out in the distance was the Brandenburg Gate, and I could see there were a couple of people looking at me with binoculars. And so I took out my trusty little penknife, my little tiny Swiss Army knife, and I dug a piece of the concrete out of the wall about the size of a quarter. And I have it here, I have it in a jar here. And so that was my symbolic gesture of taking the wall down. Well, about 6 weeks later, we're home and we're making dinner, and my sister-in-law calls and she says, turn on the TV. And I said, well, what channel? She says, any channel. The wall is coming down. And so I'm taking credit. I'm the one who started the wall to come down.
You gave him the idea that a part of history when Gary travels there. That's a fascinating story, and you'll find so many of those in this book. What are some of the big adventures, some of the exciting adventures that you took? And there are so many in the book. Maybe a couple that are top of mind as we're talking.
Well, everybody asks me that, and it's hard to nail down one or two.
Yes.
But I've been on 3 safaris in Africa. I went to South Africa once. I went to, I've been to Kenya, and I've been to Tanzania twice. And it's really, you want to see the world's biggest zoo? Those are the places to go, especially Kenya and Tanzania. Those 2 countries, they're game preserves are together between the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. They're about the size of Massachusetts.
Wow!
And the animals migrate 12 months a year. They eat the herbivores eat the grass, and the carnivores eat the herbivores, and it's fascinating to see it. Another trip that I thought was very, very interesting was the Amazon cruise. The ship we used wasn't exactly, like the Queen Mary or the Queen Elizabeth. It was more like the African Queen with Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. Anyway, but the topography and the jungle and the animals, and we saw pink dolphins, and we saw parrots, and here you'll see flocks of starlings, flying south in the winter. There you saw parakeets of all different colors flying around, and it really was very, very interesting. But I've got to prepare you. It is hot. We went in November, and it was 100 degrees every day, and the humidity was probably that much too. So needless to say, we didn't spend a lot of time outside during the day, but in the evening it was cooler. So we would take one of the lifeboats and we'd cruise around and whatnot. We went fishing for piranha, and then that was our dinner that night. But that was very interesting. New Zealand is a magnificently beautiful country. The North Island has green rolling hills like Ireland with vineyards, and the South Island reminds me of Norway with fjords and mountains with snow on top and ski resorts. Switzerland is another country that's I think is breathtaking. And there's so many pretty little villages and whatnot all throughout Europe. It's Salzburg in Austria is just picture is postcard beautiful, and you can take a tour in Salzburg of the Sound of Music. You can see where it was filmed. You can see the house that the Von Trapps lived in. You can see the trees that the kids were playing in when they came back from their honeymoon, and you can see the church where they were married. All in and around Salzburg.
So many memories that come to life, and it's not just Gary describing these. These are beautifully beautiful photographs that are in the book. The book is available wherever books are sold. Gary, tell me about the title now. Go That Way and Go Dere. I love the title. You're not going to forget that. How do you come up with that?
We were in Jamaica one year, my wife and I and her sister and her boyfriend at the time. We decided to rent a car one day. We were staying in Montego Bay, not outside of Montego Bay, a beautiful resort called Half Moon. And we decided to drive over to Negril, just to see what the other side of the island looks like. And as we were driving through the town of Montego Bay, we got lost. So we stopped a young man on the street and we asked him, how do we get to the grill? And he kind of pointed in like no particular direction. And he says, go that way and go there. And damned if we didn't find it. We found the grill.
Well, better than a compass. He got you right where you were supposed to go. So not a problem there.
Go that way and go there.
And go there. That's the name of the book. The book is available wherever books are sold. Send it to Gary's website. And if you go to ours, you'll link on directly to Gary's website, GaryLoupasakis.com. Book available wherever books are sold. Travel is so many memories, just as you're there in the video, and you'll see this on YouTube. And if you go to our website and go to video, you'll see it there as well. Your eyes light up. You sit up in your chair. I mean, you're telling these great stories. Travel is really something special, isn't it?
It is. I had a high school English teacher in my freshman year who said that you're never really educated until you've got a college degree, you speak a foreign language, and you've traveled. Well, I don't speak a foreign language. English is difficult enough for me, but I have traveled. I mean, the book talks about 6 continents and 65 countries. I have since been to the 7th continent. Last year we went to Antarctica, and I've been to 5 more countries. So, and I'm not done. There's 195 countries in the world. I don't expect to get to see all of them, but I'd like to see 100 of them.
That's so fascinating.
As long as God's willing to let me go for a while, I'm going to travel.
Well, good luck.
Can't keep, how are you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris?
You have that right, and you'll maybe going back there. Out of those places you've been to, have there been any that you've gone back multiple times? You liked it so much, it's you've gone back to it.
Yeah, Europe. I've probably been to Europe 60 times.
Oh wow!
And England especially. We have some very good friends that live outside of London, and we go over every couple of years to visit them. London's my favorite city in the world, and probably been to England 15 times, maybe. London, maybe 10 or 12. But if it did Germany, my wife's family comes from Germany, and she has some relatives over there. We've been over there several times. Been to Austria, Italy. Been to Italy a half a dozen times. Spain a couple of times.
Amazing.
And I haven't been. I've been to China twice. And I explain in the book the difference between the 2 times. Once was in 1980 when China kind of first opened up, and we were a group of travel agents that were invited. There was about 100 of us, and we were invited to tour China in 1980. And it was very, very backward. I mean, the best hotel was like a Motel 6. And you could have anything you wanted to eat as long as you wanted to eat Chinese. And we went back in 1996, and now they've got McDonald's and Burger Kings and TGIF Fridays and whatnot, and they've got Hyatts and Marriotts and Hiltons and whatnot. So it was a big, big difference. It's another Dorothy landing in Oz thing where that's how they dressed. In 1980, everybody dressed in these Mao jackets. They were the green, gray, or blue. And the only color that they had were the children were color. Although one of the guides shared with me, she had a lace blouse on underneath her jacket. She just pulled off a little piece so I could see the lace. She says, we dressed pretty underneath, but not. When I went back in 96 rather, everybody wore Izod shirts and Reebok sneakers. And it was, a big difference as far as they were so much more westernized by 1996.
Traveling, you get to have, you take souvenirs home. Talk about your collection of sand and Christmas tree ornaments.
Well, well, I've probably got 250 or 300 Christmas tree ornaments
Wow.
because we're not only collecting one from each country, we're collecting one from each city that we go to. I have a map in my hallway with pins in it from all over the world. And I mean, needless to say, the United States has most of the pins. But every time there's a beach involved, I collect sand from it. I mean, black sand from
Oh, yes,
Hawaii,
yes.
pink beach from Bermuda. I have talcum powder soft beach from the Turks and Caicos. Let me turn my video here, and I can show you. Can you see that?
Oh, yes, yep, on the wall there.
Yeah, those are that's only one shelf. I've got another one almost full, not quite. No, those are my sand collection.
Oh,
Most of them I collected myself. I will admit that I do have some sands from places I haven't been that my clients have gone to and brought back. Because I used to have this sand in a very prominent place in my office for years. And it became almost always became a conversational piece when I'd have clients sitting at my desk because the sands were right behind my desk. So they loved it, and I used them. I would use them to show people what the kind of beaches they're going to.
oh, yes.
Like
You know,
Nice. Nice is all pebbles, but Turks and Caicos is soft as baby powder. That kind of thing.
yeah, it's amazing what all you've done, what all you've seen, and still going and seeing. We're trying to get to 100 different countries on your way there. The book is called Go Dat Way and Go Dere by Gary Loupassakis. That's Loupassakis. Direct link on our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and you'll find it there in the video of the program there as well. Why did you decide to write the book, and how much fun was it going back and putting this together with all the pictures and all of the great stories?
Well, it was during the pandemic. And
Okay.
nobody was going anywhere.
Yeah,
There wasn't anybody traveling. I had closed my office up at the end of 2016. I had been there 49 years, and I was tired of being the boss. And I turned 70 that year, and I said, "That's it. I'm quitting. I've had it." I happened to own the building that the office was in, and I was tired of being the landlord. And I said, "That's it. I'm selling that." So I brought everything home. And I was doing fine from home. I still am. But the pandemic hit and nobody was going anywhere. Most countries like New Zealand wouldn't even let anybody in. No tourists were allowed to come in. So my wife said to me, "Why don't you write a book?" And I had toyed with it. I'd thought about it over the years. And I said, "Well, now's the best time. I got nothing else to do." And it was during the winter that I started writing. And it took me about a year and a half. And I enjoyed it. And up until the early 1980s, when I met my present wife, everything else was from memory. All my childhood memories and my memories with my ex-wife and the travels was all from my memories. But after 1981, when I met my present wife, she kept a diary of all our travels. And that helped dramatically. That was very, very beneficial to have that diary. And I have a disclaimer in the very beginning of the book. I say that if anybody has traveled with me, remembers these stories I'm telling differently, that's too bad. You're wrong. I'm the one who's writing a book. Go write your own book.
That's right. You're the one that got it published. Yeah, it's
right,
your
exactly.
book, your story, and you're sticking to it. So that's the way you deal with that, and you're sharing it, and that's why everybody that enjoys travel will get a real charge out of Gary's book. Now the title once again is Go Dat Way and Go Dere. Great title. You can't forget that. Book available wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of the places. Gary's website is Gary Loupassakis. That's Loupassakis. His website, Gary Loupassakis book.com. link on our website. So all of that is there. Gary, it's been a pleasure. Time has gone by too quickly. Thank you for being with us on the program today.
Thank you very much, Rick.
It has been a pleasure.
Appreciate the invitation.
It's been a pleasure to have Gary with us on the program. Information on his book on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You're listening to This Week in America, and we're back right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.